And we are going to go ahead and get started with our program tonight. Thank you all for joining us. We have such a great group. This is really exciting. My name is Liz Harris. I'm the events and marketing coordinator here at Bike Walk KC. My pronouns are she and her. I invite you all to introduce yourself in the chat box if you haven't already. Tell us who you are and where you're from. And my little icebreaker for tonight is what active transportation or maybe neighborhood initiative are you really excited about this year? Because I know that there's lots of exciting stuff going all around the Kansas City region, and I want to hear what you're excited about. We are recording this session, and we will have that recording available tomorrow afternoon. Right now, we have you all on mute, but we're saving plenty of time for questions. So if you have a question, go ahead and enter it into the chat box, and we'll catch up with those. Or we'll probably have time for like asking questions verbally, like we are face to face later on in the program. And I know that many of you asked some really great questions when you registered, so we'll have all of those. We'll have all of those towards the end of the program. I would like to allow me to introduce our chair of the board of directors, Leslie Porries, to get us started.
Thanks for that, Liz. So hi, yes, I'm Leslie Porries. My pronouns are she, her. I have been chair of the board now for, I've been co-chair and chair of the board for several years now. And it's really exciting to see all of you here. I am most excited. I think one of the things I'm most excited about going on in our world would be finally finishing the full Rock Island Trail connector so we can access the Katy. So yeah. But that's my little personal whatever. Welcome again, everyone, tonight. I'm actually not the only board member on this call. And so other board members, I invite you to wave and signal to people who you are. So thank you all for joining. And on behalf of the board and the staff, we are truly honored to be celebrating everything with you tonight because it's you, our Bike Walk KC community, and our partners that are really key to the strides that we've made for better walking and biking across the Kansas City region. Please welcome our executive director, Eric Rogers.
Hi, thank you, Leslie. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see a lot of friendly faces and some new faces tonight. We're really happy to have you with us. So we're going to rotate through a few of our team members and share some updates very quickly with some of the stuff that we've been up to and things we have planned for this year. And then we're going to spend plenty of time answering some of the questions that you all submitted in advance and the questions that may come up this evening that you drop into the chat along the way, and we'll do our best to get to as many of those questions as we can. So I'm going to kick it off by turning the mic over to our newest team member. Amy Scrivener is our brand new Director of Development and Communications. She has a really important role building our community by helping make sure we have all of the resources we need to achieve our mission, and that we are connected to all of the members and people in the community who are interested in our work. So Amy, I will turn it over to you.
Super, thank you very much. As Eric said, I am the newest member of the team. I am 2 months into my position, but I am 23 years in the nonprofit space. The work that Bike Walk KC does is so incredibly personally important to me. So first, in my professional role, I want to say thank you to everyone for being members, partners, supporters, advocates. But as an individual, as Amy Scrivener, who is married to an avid cyclist who has been hit 4 times by cars over the course of 30 years, I want to extend a personal thank you as well, because the work that we do is incredibly important to me. I was taking a look at our membership numbers, and I was pleasantly surprised to see a nearly 20% uptick in members from 2019 to 2020. And in the midst of a global pandemic, to see that kind of increase just tells me a lot, gets me really excited. And I really want to build on that foundation and to grow our membership base. The work we do is for you and because of you, and we want to include as many people as possible. So I ask from you your help in spreading the word and getting people connected to us who you think would be a good fit for us as members, as supporters. And so please let me know, because I am not shy about singing our praises. And as you know, the work is incredibly important. I would do anything to keep my husband safe, and I want to do all I can to create a built environment that supports active living for all of us. So I will get off my soapbox, but I am very, very excited to be here and look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Amy. Welcome to the community. I know we all look forward to meeting you in person as soon as we can. And if you haven't heard from Amy yet, she is calling all of our members and donors as they make contributions to say thank you. So you may get a phone call soon if you haven't yet. Next up, we're going to talk about what's going on in the policy and advocacy world. Michael Kelly is our policy director, and he leads all of our initiatives to fight for you guys at City Hall. City halls all around the region, state capitals in Missouri and Kansas, and even on Capitol Hill in DC, to make sure that we have the right policies and plans in place to keep everybody safe out on our streets and really build a community that's safe and healthy and vibrant for all of us. So Michael, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone who has joined us this evening to hear updates on the work of Bike Walk KC. Again, my name is Michael Kelly, and I'm the Policy Director for Bike Walk KC, leading our efforts to advocate for the policies, plans, and projects which help to shape and improve the built environment for active transportation. So for my update, I'll talk a bit about what is happening in DC, in Missouri, Kansas, and here in KC. You can learn more about our advocacy efforts by checking out our 2021 policy platform. So let's get started with federal legislation. Bike Walk KC met with members of the congressional delegation, Bike Walk KC met with members of the congressional delegations from Kansas and Missouri earlier this month to discuss active transportation policy as part of the National Bike Summit. We are advocating for several bills in Congress to improve walking and biking and to ensure active transportation is a priority in post-pandemic infrastructure spending. At the state level, Bike Walk KC is part of a statewide coalition in Missouri of local bike ped advocacy groups known as Missourians for Responsible Transportation, or MRT. Through that coalition, we've been able to work on statewide issues such as distracted driving legislation in Jefferson City, while also helping several small towns and cities across the state develop policies and plans to improve walking and biking. I also wanted to note that along with the staff from Missourians for Responsible Transportation, we were recently able to discuss our work in rural Missouri during a panel at the National Bike Summit. In Kansas, Bike Walk KC is part of the steering committee developing the first ever statewide active transportation coalition, along with other local groups like Bike Walk Wichita and the Topeka Community Cycle Project. Another big undertaking we're involved in is the update to the state's active transportation plan, the first in more than 20 years. The plan will look at the needs of people who walk, cycle, use mobility assistance devices, scoot, and more. Additionally, the plan will focus on how things can be improved through better policies, planning, design, and partnerships with other state agencies and local communities. Stay tuned for more updates in the coming months. And finally, with our local efforts, let's begin by talking about decriminalization. So following the protest over the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor, Mayor Quinton Lucas announced efforts to review the municipal code to identify portions ideal for decriminalization of everyday activities. Bike Walk KC took this opportunity to identify 3 key portions dirty wheels, bicycle inspections, and jaywalking, which could allow for over-policing of biking and walking, especially for Black and brown travelers, and are currently advocating for an ordinance which, in its current form, would modify those sections. Check out the webpage in the chat to learn more about the issue and how you can support these efforts. We are fortunate to have a number of community partners who have provided letters of support and are helping to amplify this issue, including the Major Taylor Cycling Club, Riff Raff, Ivanhoe Neighborhood Council, Marlboro Community Coalition, KC for Safe Streets, the Health Forward Foundation, The Whole Person, and more. Vision Zero. Vision Zero is the idea that traffic fatalities are a public health crisis, and we need a systematic review of what we're doing wrong in order to make real, lasting change. Last May, Bike Walk KC worked with partners to successfully advocate for the adoption of a Vision Zero resolution in KCMO, which sets the goal of eliminating traffic fatalities and serious injuries by the year 2030. Since its adoption, we have been working as part of a task force on the issue. The task force intends to release a roadmap for the first year of implementation in the next month or so, with a broader long-term action plan expected next year. Complete streets. In several communities around the metro, we are in various stages of pursuing or helping to implement complete streets with the help of the ordinance template we developed with partners at MRT. Westwood and KCK adopted policies in 2020 and are in the initial stages of implementation this year. Roland Park, Miriam, and Riverside are in the process of crafting complete streets legislation, which will hopefully be adopted at some point this year. And for those who may not be familiar, complete streets are the idea that streets are made for people. Regardless of your preferred mode of transportation, whether it be walking, biking, living with accessibility issues, or riding transit, you deserve to be able to get from point A to point B as safely and reliably as anyone else. And complete streets legislation works to make that a reality. Finally, we recently met with the new city manager in Kansas City, Missouri, Brian Platt. Brian comes from Jersey City, New Jersey, and has already made some encouraging moves, including steps to bolster Vision Zero, creating a new transportation director position in public works, and beginning to evaluate other aspects of construction, operation, and maintenance for multimodal infrastructure. For those of you who inquired about infrastructure in your registration, this is important because improving the internal workings of City Hall will go a long way towards ensuring an easier and more efficient process for projects to move from the paper to the pavement. This is just an overview of all the work you, our members and supporters, have helped us to achieve so far in 2021. If you have questions about any of this or something else on the advocacy front, feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll try to answer it later on in the hour. Thank you again.
Thank you, Michael. And for those of you that are just joining us in the last few minutes, please feel free to pop over into the chat to introduce yourself and let us know what you're looking forward to in 2021 in terms of walking, biking, and getting outside and being active. Next up, we're going to go to our Ride KC bike program. That is the regional bike share program that Bike Walk KC operates in partnership with the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority and local municipalities like Kansas City, North Kansas City, Johnson County, and more to come. And so for that, I'm going to turn it over to a couple of folks on our Ride KC bike team, Paige and Christian.
Hey everybody, I'm Christian. I'm one half of the Ride KC bike fleet coordinator staff, the other one being Paige, of course. We are just coming in off of the off season, coming in, getting ready to start our peak season for the spring. During the off season, we took the time to do our winter maintenance. We did 330 bikes, trued the wheels, degreased chains if needed, tensioned the chains, cleaned the bikes thoroughly, replace cables, whatever need be. We were able to do that very seamlessly too, because we have a new shop space. With the successful expansion of the fleet, ever-growing fleet, we needed more space, and we were able to get a new facility. So we have all of our storage on site. We do have one spot off site still, but we'll eventually get everything in there. We have all of our vehicles there. We're able to fix everything and get it out the door much quicker now. We've also still continuing our offer for healthcare workers and delivery drivers too. So this was during the pandemic to help show some support. We offer free day passes with proof of employment, be it their healthcare badge or pay stub. And we've had some regular delivery drivers taking advantage of that and a lot of healthcare workers too. And speaking of healthcare, we have a new sponsor in the UMKC Health Sciences District. We have some bike racks there, and we keep a number of classic bikes, pedal bikes, and e-bikes as well too. So that helps the students and employees alike get around in the area. Speaking of that too, we are still disinfecting. So we were one of the early people to adopt disinfecting all of our fleets. Upon arrival of any bikes, we will use our CDC recommended virus killing agents and get all of the common surfaces. So be it saddles, seat post adjusters, handlebar grips, we make sure all those are cleaned to the best of our ability every time we're around them. Can't be done all the time, but so we do it every time we touch them. Let's see here. And we also are expanding, like I said, with the fleet, we're expanding our staff too. We're coming into the peak season. We will need more workers. So we have actually just opened a requisite for new staff. So we'll have part-time seasonal workers coming in, and that will help us out to take care of all of the bikes that we have, be it in Johnson County, Kansas City. We have a number of stations throughout the areas. So we have a lot to cover and we need all the staff we can. And that's what I have. And then Paige is going to help out too. Paige is our other fleet coordinator.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Paige. I'm the other fleet coordinator with Ride KC Bike. And so just to continue with some of our updates coming into spring, some big ticket items that we have down the line. As of March 1st and March 2nd, we launched out in Johnson County and Lenexa, a relaunch. We are back out there. So in Johnson County Parks, we do have a new site this year. We now stock bikes at Craig's Crossing. And then we've done 70 bikes out in Joco. And then we have 25 electric bikes in Lenexa at various parks there. And we're seeing good ridership right off the bat. We've had some, as you know, iffy weather in the past couple of weeks, the past month, but we had a really good first week of March weather-wise, and so we really did well out there right off the get-go. We're also seeing what's really cool out in those areas is we're not only seeing within the parks ridership. We've noticed that people are sometimes riding from one park to another. We'll find more bikes at one location than originally stocked. And so that's a kind of a cool little feature, is that they're starting to kind of be interconnected out there. And then our big upcoming announcement is we will be launching electric bikes in KCK. We are looking kind of at a late spring, early summer launch date. We're going to initially roll out 30 e-bikes it's the KU Med Rosedale area. We're going to have 10 hubs. So 10 bike racks where we will stock bikes out there. Eventually, as the supply chain comes back a little bit, we will add another 20, I believe, for KCK, so up to 50. And yes, that's the big update for Ride KC Bike.
Stay tuned for more.
Yes.
Another time.
Thank you, Paige and Christian, for that update. Yeah, we are all excited to have Bike Share coming to the dot soon this spring. Next up, our final update is from our education team, which works hard to do all kinds of bike education and walking school buses and all types of programs across the region in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and even with adults. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura Steele, our education director.
Everybody, my name is Laura Steele, Director of Education here at Bike KC. I'm not going to dwell too much on 2020. We all know that that was quite the year. So, looking ahead, while looking back, over the past 10 years of providing education, we've amassed a lot of friends, allies, and advocates who have promoted our work in their community. So as we begin to work with new organizations and continue the relationships with established ones, we're ever mindful that they're the trusted source in their community, and we will see a bigger sustained impact if they are leading the conversation and charge around active transportation. So to that end, we are working towards finding new champions within local cycling groups, neighborhood associations, other nonprofits, managed care providers, and institutions such as school districts, libraries, and others, to provide train the trainer opportunities around safe routes to school and league certified instructor workshops and seminars. So this approach isn't new for Bike Walk KC, but we're recommitting to finding ways to amplify and diversify our work by building these partnerships in the community, increasing grassroots capacity, and supporting the development of an ecosystem of organizations. So already within this first quarter, we've hosted 2 listening sessions with regional LCIs to understand how we can help promote their efforts and support their professional development in this context. Also, we will be holding a listening session with BLAST communities. These are regional schools outside of the metro who've committed to bringing bicycle safety curriculum and fleets of bikes to their students. Our goal with these lessons or these sessions is to learn from each other and find support through networking. The pandemic did quickly derail our work within schools, and we sat through the fall in a holding pattern of thinking things might start to open up only to find that they weren't. Regardless, we started this first quarter with a promotional campaign to highlight our ability to provide virtual education as well as small group neighborhood training sessions. Last year, we did see success with socially distant bike rodeos that were coordinated and promoted with other nonprofit partners. So following that approach, just this week, we put the finishing touches on 3 bike rodeos that will happen later this spring and into early summer. So it's been very different to not start the year with the volume of program requests that we've had in the past. However, I believe we've been given this chance to be creative within new boundaries, and this has ultimately opened up opportunities to deliver to our audiences in a refreshed and diverse way. So we're looking very hopeful at the upcoming year, and that's my update.
Thanks very much, Laura. I put a couple of links in the chat box. So if you are interested in being one of those champions that the education team is looking for, we want to hear from you. So you can email us at education@bikewalkkc.org. And if you want to learn more about our pandemic options, pandemic learning options, you can look there too. We've got some really exciting stuff. And like Laura said, the education team has been super creative in coming up with ways to keep families and neighborhoods moving, even when we can't all be together. And I think we've got some new stuff coming up. Let me share the events, the link for our events as well. So if you're looking for one of those Confident City cycling classes, or perhaps one of our classes that we do in partnership with Johnson County Library, those are all virtual. You can find more about those events, and you can sign up for those events at the link that I just put in the chat box. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start with some questions. Many of you asked some really great questions when you registered, and I would welcome you that if you have any more after listening to us talk, if you have any more, I'd encourage you to put them in the chat box, and we will answer those too. And you are welcome to ask questions, I think, of any of the staff here, right, guys? We're all okay with answering questions. And sometimes the answer might be later. So to start with, yeah, we've had a couple of questions about Tour de Beer lately. I'll go ahead and answer that. So the answer with Tour de Beer is yes, we are still having Tour de Beer this year. It's going to be pretty similar to last year. If you participated in 2020, it was a virtual event. And we're going to we're planning a similar event for this year. We are not ready to have 1,200 people all breathing on each other, even if it is outdoors. But I think that last year was a great success, honestly. We had so much fun and our brewery partners were super engaged and we appreciated all of the folks who rode with us. So we're going to go ahead and build on that success and do 2021 pretty similarly and have another year of safe and distant Tour de Beer. And we'll see about going back to in-person altogether in 2022. So that's the Tour de Beer. We've also got a question for the bike share team. Is bike share planning on expanding on the Line Creek Trail in the Northland? And I will let Christian and Paige answer that one.
Yeah, so as far as that's concerned, that's something we would certainly love to see. But for that, we basically, work with local cities and mayors to build those relationships and get sponsorships, get investment in it to then, put those racks and stock those bikes. So, if you know anybody in those communities who would really love that type of ridership up there, certainly reach out to us about anyone you might know who would be, a great contact for that.
Yeah, we would definitely love to expand, and with the initiative of the areas who are looking for the presence, we will definitely work with them once it's addressed.
And then one more question from Ryan Mott, who, if any of you don't know Ryan Mott, he is one of our biggest fans, I think, for Ride KC Bike. Ryan wants to know if we're ever going to add cargo bikes.
As of right now, I do not know the answer to that question.
We do have handy 15-pound baskets on the front. So we have a mini cargo going on right now. And we recommend backpacks in the meantime until we introduce cargo bikes. But we don't have them in the near future. But like I said before, with adding new stations, you could always, with enough support and interest, maybe we can do a cargo bike or two. Who knows?
Rogers, I have one for you. So Thomas, our community planner, is not on the call tonight, but can you update us with any fresh new bike lanes?
Fresh new bike lanes. That's a great question. And I think we've seen several recently. Something we've been working on is a dashboard of community data around walking and biking to really kind of quantify what's out there on the ground. And part of that is a database of trails and bike lanes around the region. And we did find that in 2019, there was a big expansion of new bike lanes and trails and many more miles of those in 2019. And we're now kind of counting up the data from 2020 to see what happened. But we know that there's expansion going on. We know that many communities have plans in the works to do more. I'll give a special shout out to the city of Overland Park, which has one of the region's most ambitious bike master plans and has been building bike lanes at a much faster clip than any other part of the region, dozens of miles a year. And so it's great to see that type of progress. For walking, we know in Kansas City, Missouri, thanks to a lot of our advocacy and many of you who voted in an election a few years ago, we now have a $150 million fund to repair and expand sidewalks in KCMO. And we're seeing many more blocks of sidewalks getting fixed every year. And something when we chatted with Brian Flatt, the new city manager in KCMO, he shared with us that the city's going to have a new plan for many more miles of protected bike lanes in the next couple of years. And so we're excited to see what that plan is going to be. I think we'll hear news from City Hall here pretty quickly. And then we know there are a lot of great plans that are getting built out in other parts of the region. Lee Summit, Blue Springs, Liberty, other parts of the Northland are building a lot of trails and bikeways. And so we're really excited to see more of those come in every year. And if you want more, this is a great pitch for you to join our advocacy mailing list so we can send you alerts when things are happening at local city halls. And we can also connect you to resources if you want to contact your own mayor and city council members to let them know that you want to see more sidewalks and trails and bike lanes in your own community.
Thank you. Laura, I think you already answered this question about going, the youth education programs going back into the schools. Do you have a timeline on that yet?
You know, there's so many districts across the region that are doing different things. Everybody's approaching this very conservatively, and our place is to kind of follow that lead. You know, I'm pretty sure even after schools reopen, and if there's a majority that are back in person, there's going to be restrictions on visitors who are coming in. So one thing that we're looking at is if we can't work directly with the students, you know, working a little bit more with administrators and again, those school champions to encourage biking and walking. It might not be in the PE setting, but maybe it's before and after school to get to and from home or a caregiver's house or whatnot. So we are looking to work in schools, work with schools. It's just not probably at the moment going to look traditionally like we've normally worked within schools. So we are just gonna, you know, have to roll with what we get.
All right, and Michael, could you talk a little bit more about decriminalization? I know that that is still in a holding pattern at City Hall, correct? Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit more about how we can help move that along, or how just like everyday advocates, my next door neighbors, can help move that along?
Yeah, so the short answer is that the ordinance, it's ordinance number 210100, is kind of in a holding pattern with the city's transportation committee. There hasn't been any recent movement just because it's been kind of a victim of being at the wrong place on the schedule. So hopefully we'll be able to see some movement here soon. But the short answer is that if folks are interested in trying to get involved, there are a number of things that you can do. We have a link to a campaign page where all you need to do is drop in your name, address, and you can send an email directly to the mayor and your council members to ask them to support this legislation. And that link is still open, and we strongly encourage everyone who's on here, if you live in Kansas City and haven't already used the link, to please do that. If you are employed in an organization or the head of an organization that would like to submit a letter of support, you can also reach out to me at policy@bikewalkkc.org, and I'd be happy to answer more questions about that as well. And please just ask your friends and neighbors to send in letters of support and reach out to their council members as well. the more that the council members hear from their constituents that this is a big issue and they want to see movement on this, the quicker that we can have a good update for you all on that front. So greatly appreciate everyone who has been able to send in something thus far, whether it be as an individual or as an organization. And hopefully at our next stakeholder meeting or before then, we'll have some good news to report on that front.
Thanks, Michael. We had a really great Advocacy 101 class this month. Was it just a few weeks ago? And Michael helped walk us through some of those steps of just being an effective advocate from your home computer or from your telephone or from your neighborhood meeting. We're looking forward to doing some more of those advocacy trainings. We're starting some more in May, I believe. And so keep an eye out for that. And that's another incentive for you to join the advocacy mailing list, especially because our advocacy folks get first dibs on those classes. So we'd love to have you. And yes, talk to us at policy@byquadkc.org. So Laura, I have another question for you. Do we have plans to do a Women's Bike Summit this year?
Good question. I would say a formal summit is still a question mark. Knowing that we had to do a lot of turning last year to make Tour de Beer successful as a virtual option, there's definitely opportunities to continue to do women's programming, and we are looking for that as well. A formal summit, again, with gathering restrictions and maybe a lot of question marks around that. I don't have a very clear answer, so thank you for the question. We'll keep people posted.
I'm posting a link to our first Women Bike KC event in the chat. We're going to have a Women Plus Confident City Cycling class that will be open to women, trans, femme, non-binary folks. And we're excited about that. That is coming up in April, right? Next month.
Yes, April.
Yeah. Sign up for that. We do have discounts for Bike Walk KC members. And if you don't have your Bike Walk KC member code, let me know and I will send that to you. And we also have a, I guess all genders, Confident City Cycling class coming up in March towards just next week, I guess.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, it starts next week. And once again, Bike Walk KC members get a discount. So go ahead and find that Bike Walk KC events link that I posted earlier in the chat. And if you want that code, let me know and I'll send it to you in an email. Thanks, Mary. It's really great to see you. Yeah. I'm looking at a couple more questions here. John, who is also one of our board members. Gosh, it's great to see you guys. I haven't seen you in months. John wants to know if there's any progress on beg buttons downtown. Do we know anything about that?
So, John, thank you for the question. The short version is that back when the lockdown orders first went into place, the city ultimately came up with a list of short-term changes to the built environment that included eliminating, what is a beg button? For those of you who may not know what a beg button is, it's the button that you have to press to cross the street as a pedestrian. There's a more formal name for them amongst planners and everyone, but we tend to refer to them as beg buttons. And so with regards to the, going back to the lockdown, what was done by the city is that they came up with a list of intersections where they essentially killed the beg button. So the lights would automatically change to accommodate the pedestrians at I think, about 100 intersections, primarily in the downtown and midtown areas. And if I can find the link after I'm done talking, I'd be happy to share that with you all. My understanding is that was to be in place for the duration of the lockdown order, but obviously there could be an opportunity to expand that more, especially with Brian Platt, who is made it very clear that he wants to try to find additional ways to support active transportation in Kansas City. So the short answer is that there were some during the pandemic or during the lockdown. We're still in the pandemic, but hopefully we will be able to see some extensions and maybe expansions of that in the coming months.
I really love all the hope. It makes me feel super good to start the year with all of this positivity and hope that I'm hearing from all of you, because it's been a long and hard 2020, and I'm ready to jump back into it both feet. If no one else has any more questions, I'm going to pass it over to Eric Rogers, our executive director.
Thank you, Liz, and thank all of you all for being here. I'm just reflecting on a lot of the questions that you all have been asking have been about when are we going to get back to seeing each other in person at some of these big events. And I think we are all eager to get back together in person as soon as we can. And I think it's looking positive that we're gonna be able to do that soon, especially in some smaller groups as the weather warms up and we can get together outside. So some of the bigger things may not happen this year, but we'll see how things go towards the end of the year and what we can do more together in person. And we all look forward to that. And not only have we been isolated for the last 12 months, but many of us have had significant birthdays, anniversaries, and other milestones during this pandemic. And I know a lot of us are saying we're just going to declare a do-over. And for us at Bike Walk KC, that one of those milestones was our 10th anniversary that we were going to celebrate last year in 2020. And so we're going to do a do-over, and we're going to celebrate our 10th anniversary all over again, just like many of you who are celebrating milestones again. So we're going to spend the next 12 months celebrating everything that has been going on, that we've accomplished. And we're also going to spend a lot of time thinking about the future. And hopefully in a year from now, in April of 2022, we'll be all together in person at a big party to celebrate all the hard work that's been going on and that everybody has been advocating for and supporting and living in your daily lives. Just a few of the accomplishments that I think we're very proud of, that we want to share. Over the last 10 years, we've had over 30,000 young folks who have gone through all kinds of safe routes to school programs and bike safety education and walking school buses. So that's 30,000 kids who are now much more safe and confident walking in their neighborhoods to school. And many of them are now becoming drivers. And we think that they're going to be safer drivers for having become safer cyclists and pedestrians. The bike share program has seen over 25,000 trips a year. And we're burning millions of calories a year and offsetting tens of thousands of pounds of carbon every year from going into our atmosphere here in Kansas City. We're very, very close to connecting Kansas City to the Katy Trail. It's going to happen very soon, and we're all very excited for that. And we're seeing lots of policy changes all around the region, from the cities to the suburbs and everywhere in between, that are changing the built environment for the better, so that the healthy choices are the easy choices that we make in our daily lives. But we've also seen that the pandemic has really exposed a lot of the inequalities in our transportation system. and in our public spaces. It really enforced the importance of active living and active transportation for recreation and fitness and mental health, and connecting with our neighbors and our loved ones and our friends and family outside. And so as we start looking at a vision for the next 10 years in Kansas City, which we're going to call Mile 20, top of our mind is how our streets and our public spaces can be pathways to recovery in our post-pandemic world. We think that's the key to making the new normal, not the old normal, but the new normal, more equitable, more sustainable, more connected, more just. And so we need your all's help to figure out what that vision is. What should our communities look like in 2030 and beyond? And so we're asking you to start thinking about what you want to be celebrating in 10 more years when we get together in person. What's your vision for your neighborhood, your communities? We're giving you that assignment between today and our next quarterly meeting. So we're asking you to get to work and stay tuned for some opportunities to share your ideas and your vision with us. And we'll start working on creating that vision together. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening and giving us your time. And I'm going to turn it back over to Liz to wrap things up and talk about our next steps.
There we go. Unmuting and muting myself. Thank you very much, Rogers. I appreciate that bit of encouragement, and I think we all have our assignment, right? So if you've got that down, we will meet again in the second quarter for our second quarter stakeholder meeting. And I will be sure to invite all of you. Thank you so much for joining us and for supporting Bike Walk KC and our work. Thank you for supporting the work at large, which is not just Bike Walk KC. It's all of our efforts to build an active and thriving community where we can all live. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. I will follow up tomorrow with an email that will include all of the links that we shared tonight. I will share the video as well, or the link to the video on YouTube. And we will connect again. So thank you all for coming tonight, and have a good evening.